Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Dad's Turn to Talk. My name is Bob, and I'm joined with Derek here tonight. And this is our Christmas Eve / Christmas episode, Hanukkah episode. So happy holidays, everybody. Merry Christmas, happy Hanukkah. We are excited. Just as always, real quick before we start the show, just a reminder to go ahead and hit that like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel. And we wanted to go ahead and thank everybody who watched our last video, our trailer reaction to Superman. We actually did really well on that video. That's the most we've ever done on this channel. So everybody who checked out that video, we want to thank you. Now, on that video, Derek, you were sure a big hit with everybody. If you want to tell everybody why here.
Well, okay. So first of all, everybody, happy holidays. Whatever you're celebrating, enjoy. Because apparently there are some folks that think I'm not the nicest of guys right now. So I'll try to redeem myself here. My comments about crypto were not well received. I have to admit that I was a little bit taken back. Like, really? That's what you guys got mad about? Was the dog? So allow me to try to redeem myself here. Let me assure all of you that, number one, if you like crypto, okay? It's okay to like what you like. That's why we want to keep welcoming the comments. You can make fun of me all you want. You can have a joke at my expense. I don't mind. If you like crypto, like them. It's okay. And as a matter of fact, I'd love to hear why people do like them even more. That's fine. It's totally cool. But number two, I assure you I am not a dog hater. All right? I had 4 dogs growing up. I can give you all the names of them if you really, really wish for it. And I had 3 cats, and I had 2 birds, and I had like 3 fish, and a partridge and a pear tree. Okay, so believe me when I tell you, I'm not a dog hater. All right.
I'm glad that you said that, Derek, because I actually did find some footage of you with one of your dogs here, and I wanted to share that with everyone here. So yeah, Derek loves dogs, as you can tell. In fact, I have one other clip here. I want to share. See, check this one out here too.
Yep.
So Derek the dog hater. Okay, crypto hater. So.
Yeah, just crypto. Okay, not other dogs. All right.
And I will point out that on that video, both Josh and I were fans of crypto. Speaking of Josh, he is not with us tonight, as you can see. Apparently, he has a party to attend for Christmas Eve with some of his golf buddies. In fact, he was on the golf course earlier today, and he sent me a video of him on the golf course. Let's check this out. So, Josh, doesn't look like it's going too well for you over there. I hope it gets a little bit better. But anyway, we want to go ahead and get into our topics tonight. We know it's the holidays, and so we don't want to be wasting anybody's time here. So we are going to start with the college football playoff. We actually talked about round 1, and now we're going to go ahead and move into the quarterfinals. That's right. We are going to talk the quarterfinals of the college football playoff. Before we get into that, Derek, what did you think of round one?
So, funny story about round one. I had about 9 different trainings that I had to get through for my company. And of course, I procrastinated and I did it all until the last minute when I had to go on vacation. But me being me, I kept the college football playoffs of the first round on in the background. With all these modules, there's a test at every end of them. So it's like 15, 20 questions, and you have to pass them in order to move on to complete everything. I realized that I was starting to pass everything because I was bored with every single game that I was watching. Because I'm like by the time I got to like the 7th or 8th training, I'm like, they're like, give me something to take a break with here. And I got nothing. It just stayed that way pretty much throughout the whole time. And as a result, I completed all my trainings, but at the same time, I was really um, just disappointed more than anything. Um,
Okay.
Not angry, not really upset, but I remember thinking to myself, look, this is supposed to be a 12-team playoff. It, shouldn't all 12 teams be good? But it turns out the lower seeds, none of them were good. At least not this time. It's the first time doing this, so we're all learning here. But yeah, it was just it could have been more. It could have been more.
You
But
know, I don't think it's necessarily that they weren't good. I know there's a lot of people out there talking about, well, maybe Indiana didn't belong in there, or maybe SMU didn't belong in there. But for whatever reason, they're giving Tennessee a pass, who also got walloped. I think when it comes down to it, I just think the home teams won. They were favored. They they were all in good positions. They all had good teams, and I think this is just a way of getting rid of some of the pretenders. I mean, we like to assume that just because it's the playoffs or just because it's a Super Bowl or a championship or anything that it it guarantees that we're going to have good games. How many Super Bowls and blowouts? And those are supposedly the two best teams
I
in the NFL.
I
So
get it. I get it.
so I think that's kind of just what happened here. I mean, this is sports. This is the nature of sports. Now, would I have liked one or two of them to be closer? Obviously, but yeah, they just were blowouts.
No,
So,
and I understand that. When you have home field advantage, there's definitely the potential for that to happen.
and
But at
some of
least
them,
give me
I think
at
some
least
of them, like in the case of Penn State, for example, SMU going up to Penn State, that was going to be mission impossible for them anyway because they were going up to into the cold. This is a team that their average temperature they mentioned was in the 70s for their games, and they were going up into Penn State. Tennessee, I would say they've probably played in some cold weather, but not quite as cold as Ohio
not
State.
like that.
But
Yeah.
but even then, it's not quite as bad. Um, Indiana, same thing. They're equivalent to Notre Dame because they're both
Sure.
in Indiana, so they're both used to the cold weather. So I don't
Yep.
think that was the case there. In Texas, I just think it was a case where Clemson wasn't who I hoped they would be, or who I hoped would show up. Now, granted, they did make the game kind of interesting at the end, but it wasn't really. I don't think the game was any danger.
They made the game interesting probably around, I want to say, about the 10-minute mark in the third quarter.
Yeah.
That was the most exciting one out of any of them.
Yes.
Um, and even then, by about, gosh, probably about 6 minutes left in the fourth, even that became obvious.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm sure it won't be like this every year. I'm still glad we have a 12-team playoff. But if you're a football fan, you were hoping for more.
Yeah.
So, okay, it
All
is what
right.
it is. And by the way, I got all the teams right.
Yes, you did. Josh and I went 2 for 2. So You got them all right. Let's see if I can do a little bit better this week. All right.
Well, yeah, I haven't been doing so on my fantasy, so at least I got that one right.
Well, we'll get into that, especially because Josh isn't here. So.
Oh, yes, I can't wait.
So let's go ahead and let's talk about these games. The first one is going to be Penn State and Boise State. And let me just verify which bowl game that is. I'm wanting to say that's in the Fiesta Bowl, but let me just double check real quick.
I think you're right on that.
I don't want to get these bowl games wrong here.
Yeah.
I actually had it up a second ago.
Gotcha.
Yeah, with them being all new, I forget which ones are being held where. Okay, yeah, it is the Fiesta Bowl is the first one. And so we've got Penn State and we've got Boise State. Boise State did have the bye week. I guess it's really almost like 10 days bye week.
Yeah.
And so they've got their star running back, Ashton Genty, who a lot of people, including myself, thought he should have won the Heisman. They gave it to Travis Hunter. Boise State, it is worth noting that they did play a very close game with Oregon earlier in the year and ended up losing, but they did compete with Oregon. So I want to point that out there, that this is a team that can compete with the number one seed here. So how are they going to go up against Penn State? Weather shouldn't be an issue. This is going to be in Arizona. I believe it's indoors with the Fiesta Bowl. So what do you think of this game, Derek?
All right, so we got an even playing field here. By the way, the spread on this game right now is Penn State by 11.
Okay. Keep those spreads close because we'll have you read those off.
Yeah, sure, no problem. I tend to agree with that. I think Penn State is much more underestimated than people think. Now, when we get into the semifinals, that could be a different discussion, obviously. But I think for this round, I like Penn State. The name of the quarterback, Aller, is that his name?
Yeah, Drew Aller.
Really show me a lot in that last game. He seems like he really had a great strategy. He knew how to improvise. He did a lot of really creative stuff in that game, as did the rest of his offense, too. I mean, the running game was good. The wide receivers were good. The defense was unreal in that game. So now that we have this well-dimensioned of a football team, and granted, Boise State's had time. They've had time to rest up. But I don't think they've had competition like Penn State yet. And as a result of that, I'm going to have to go with Penn State.
All right.
What do you think?
What do you think score-wise?
I'm a conservative guy when it comes to scores. I'll say by 10.
Okay.
I think 10's the number.
And you said the spread was 11?
It was, yeah.
So Boise's going to cover the spread.
It will, but that's about all they're going to do.
All right.
But I do want to get – look, Boise State's good too. So I don't think they're just going to, roll over and perish here. So I'm going to say that this is going to be competitive. It'll probably start showing up that Penn State's the better team about 6 minutes into the third quarter. And then I think they're going to run away with it.
All right.
Yeah. What do you think, Bob?
All right. I'm taking Boise to cover the spread.
Okay.
And I do think it's going to be closer than 10. The reason I think that is I like that rushing attack for Boise State. And don't get me wrong, Penn State has a defense. They got a defense, I think, that could slow them down. But I don't know if they can completely stop Genty. I think like a down day for him is like 100 yards. I think he's still going to his 100 yards.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, he's the majority of their offense. It runs through him.
But isn't that a problem, though? If it all funnels in one way? I mean,
yeah. And defensively, I think Boise State I don't think they're bad defensively.
No.
I just don't know if they can hang with Penn State, especially now that they're beginning to roll a little bit. I think their wide receivers, I mean, they're not bad. Warren, that tight end, boy, he's one heck of a player.
Yep.
Like a Swiss Army knife, where he can kind of do a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
You got that. You got that running back combination of Singleton and Allen, Katron Allen, and like a little thunder and lightning combination there. That adds a whole wrinkle to trying to stop Penn State, because if you're playing one type of running back, the other one's got a different skill set. So I'm curious to see how this game is going to go. I do think Penn State will probably win it. I'm going to say by 7. I do think Boise State will cover, and I think they can make it somewhat of an interesting game. But we'll see. Now, I am going to say, I hope Boise State wins this game. I really do. And part of the reason is because if they don't win, then you're going to hear nothing but all these teams didn't belong. We need to see these teams differently. We need to start opening it up to more teams in the SEC. You want a team from the group of 5, in this case, Boise State, to actually compete with the big boys, to show they belong.
What you want to do is show proof that this playoff is as it should be, right?
Yeah.
Like, you want the number 3 to be the number 3.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I do think that this was inevitable. You were going to see some blowouts. Like if you look at the college playoff for the last decade, it was a 4-team playoff. How many blowouts did we have in the 4-team playoff? And that was supposedly the 4 best teams. I mean, you only had 4 of them, and they still had blowouts. Yeah. So how much more do you think there's going to be a blowout with the 12? Yeah. So now I think people had hoped that not all 4 first games would be a blowout, but I just think that's the way it worked out this year. Like, Tennessee and Ohio State should have been a much better game than what it was.
I thought the same thing.
Clemson and Texas was not a terrible game, because Clemson did make it interesting, but the game was never in danger. We'll put it that way. Yeah. The other 2 games, on the other hand, were blowouts. So, yeah, it just didn't live up to the hype. So I'm pulling for Boise State, but I do think Penn State's going to win it by 7.
Okay. So you're saying 7, I'm saying 10. Okay, but we're both saying Penn State. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
There you go.
The next game is going to be on January 1st. This is going to be the Peach Bowl, and this is Texas and your favorite team, Arizona State.
Oh, God. Hook 'em horns. Hook 'em as much as you can. Oh.
Yeah, so we've got Arizona State. They had the bye week. They were the number 4 seed. They are the Big 12 champ. And you've got Texas as the number 5 seed, but a lot of people have Texas winning the whole thing. So what do you think here, Derek? I'm pretty sure I know where you're going here, but humor me.
But let me give you the spread on this game. Right now, Texas is favored by 13.5.
It's a pretty big spread.
Just because I can, I want Texas to stomp Arizona State. So if they're going to give me that spread in terms of how this goes, I'm going to say Texas by 21.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think Arizona State stands much of a chance.
Okay.
Okay, and here's why I say that, though. Arizona State is kind of like a Cinderella story. It's much like Indiana. They have a great coach, and they found a way to master the pieces that they do have. However, Texas is too big of a machine for them. There's too many more weapons on Texas to completely destroy Arizona State. I just don't think they have the caliber. I can't see it. That's me.
Okay.
What do you think?
Well, I do think Arizona State's going to same thing. I think they'll cover the spread. I think they're better than what people are giving them credit for. Scatterboo, that running back, he's not easy to tackle. And granted, is
Ah,
good.
true.
Texas has a really good rushing defense,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know. They can also throw the ball a little bit too, Arizona State. And so I'm gonna say they're gonna hang with Texas. Now I do think Texas will win. You said the spread was 13?
13 and a half.
Okay. I'm taking Texas. I'm still gonna say double digits, but I'm gonna say 10.
You're
I
going to
think
say
it's still
10. Okay.
I think it's still a little bit more at 10 points. I think it's still an interesting enough game. So I do think Arizona State will hang a little bit, and I think as the game goes on, Texas will start to assert their dominance. So I'm taking Texas, but I do think Arizona State covers that spread.
Now, what do you think about the Texas defense?
If you look at the way they played all year, they don't allow a lot of big plays. They make you earn every little bit, and that's why I think Arizona State can hang somewhat because the way Scatterbo runs, he gets those tough yards, 3-4 yards at a time. And I think that he's capable of getting that against Texas. So I do think that's why they'll make it a little bit interesting. So I'm taking Texas by 10.
Okay. ASU is going to try to turn this into a game of inches.
Yeah.
Because that's the advantage. That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, I like I said, I like Scatterbo. I think he's a fantastic runner, a very hard runner. So I mean, it's not a. Let's put it this way: it's not a fluke that they won the Big 12. Now, I do think it is a Cinderella story because nobody expected them to come up and do it, but it's not a fluke. They've got talent.
No, they do. They have a ton of talent. Offensively,
I just don't think that talent matches up with Texas.
Well. And this is where I flip a coin and I look at ASU's defense against Texas. That's where I think the real problem is.
Yes, I agree.
That I don't think ASU is going to be prepared for.
Agreed.
Just if Texas ran all over Clemson, I mean, I don't give ASU much of a chance in this game. And I'm not just saying that because I hate ASU. I'm actually thinking logically about this now. So hear me out on that.
No, here's kind of what I think. For ASU to win, it's going to have to be a shootout. Yeah. If it's a low-scoring game, I think Texas wins easily by 10 points. But if it's one of those games where it's going back and forth, then Arizona State has a shot. But they'll have to find a way to get long plays to generate big plays. And if they can generate the big plays, then I think we have something here.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Got yourself a deal.
All right. But I'm taking Texas.
Taking Texas. Taking Penn State. So we're all in alignment here with the teams winning. Spread's different discussion, but that's okay.
All right. So now we are going into the next quarterfinal game. This is going to be the Rose Bowl. And we have this is kind of interesting because you have two Big Ten teams now with, this is since you have no no real Pac-12 anymore. I mean, I think you still have it, but it's like two teams in there.
No, it's Pac-2. It's not Pac-12.
Exactly. But you'd have a matchup that you would have seen before because Oregon is there. So you got Oregon and Ohio State. So this will be in the Rose Bowl. This is the midday game or a midday big bowl game on the 1st.
Mm-hmm.
So these two teams played one heck of a game the first time around earlier up in Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
Really close. Ohio State almost pulled it off. What was the final score? They lost by like 2 points, I think it was.
I thought.
Was it 1 point?
I think it was one actually.
Let me look it up real quick because I just want to get
go ahead. No, let's get the metrics on that.
Yeah. Okay, the earlier game, it was 1 point. It was 32-31.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, yeah.
So that was a one heck of a football game. I remember I was actually at work when that one was going on, but I kept tuning in to see what was going on, and Ohio State just didn't want to go away.
No.
So I think this is a case where it's on a neutral field. This should be this should be close again. I don't think this is going to be a blowout. I think this could be another close game.
Okay.
But I'll get into my thoughts in a second. What do you think, Derek?
First statements with what you just said, I'm in full alignment with. This is tough. This is a tough football game right here to try to call it out. Oh man. Ohio State showed me a lot when they played Tennessee. They showed me a lot.
Okay.
Now I thought in that game they were just going to gut it out, but that wasn't gutting it out. They showed pure dominance, and they did it on both sides of the football, offensively and defensively. Commanders, throughout the whole game. No disrespect, DC, but I have to say, if there was one underdog victory I see out of all this, it's Ohio State.
What's the spread on this?
2.5 Ohio State.
Okay. So Ohio State's actually the favorite.
They are right now, and I buy it. I do. Now, it's we're talking fingernails here, just in terms of how close this game is going to be. And I actually do buy that spread. This could come down to a field goal, honestly. Okay. That's what I think it's going to be. I'm going to say final score, if I had to call it. I don't think it's going to be like a big, high-scoring game. I don't think it's going to be anything like that. But it will be competitive. I think it's going to be 24-21, if I had to call it. Okay. But, yeah, I think Ohio State wins.
All right.
What say you?
All right. It is very difficult to beat a team twice. Mm-hmm. Extremely difficult. Mm-hmm. And I think Ohio State made a statement against Tennessee. They heard all the noise about, the coach needs to get fired. He can't beat Michigan. Yeah. And understandably so, he hasn't been able to beat Michigan, so I get that. But, they heard all the noise, people saying that they kind of snuck in, that the loss was bad. I mean, heck, even last week when we were talking about it, Josh mentioned how bad that loss was to Michigan. I think they heard all that noise. They went out and made a statement against Tennessee. I think they come out and they handle business against Oregon. To be honest, I haven't been that impressed with Oregon this year. I'm not saying that they haven't earned their spot, but they didn't look as dominant in some of their games to me as what they have in years past. And that's weird saying that because we're talking about an undefeated team here. Mm-hmm. But there are several games where they looked vulnerable to me, and I think Ohio State handles business here. I'm taking Ohio State. If I had to pick a score, I'm going to say 29-27.
Okay. All right.
And I think Ohio State handles business. I just think they find a way to pull this off. This is a neutral field, so that's what I'm going with.
I will say this. It would not surprise me if Oregon won this.
I think it could go either way. The main reason I'm taking Ohio State is because it's so difficult to beat a team twice. And I think they want to prove that they belong. And I think if they get by Oregon, nobody's going to argue anything about them.
No. If anything, here's the thing about Oregon. Oregon has squeaked out wins, but that also shows you that they have tenacity. They'll stay in it for 60 minutes all the way through.
There you go.
And then they're going to overtime too. So even if you have to battle through it, they're battle tested. So we'll see. This will be very, very good. I'm excited for this. Yeah.
All right. So we're both taking Ohio State, but I think we're both in agreement that Oregon could easily win this thing.
Yeah. So, I think so.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get into the last game here. We are talking the Sugar Bowl, and this is going to be Georgia, number 2 Georgia, and number 5 Notre Dame. The Sugar Bowl in a nice dome. So weather's not going to be an issue here. What say you on this game? Because I've got an interesting feeling about this one. I think Georgia's quarterback is out, and I'm think from my understanding he wouldn't be available to possibly the semifinals. But I didn't hear any recent updates.
Okay.
Let me look at what the newest update is on Carson Beck.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so he's actually done for the season. He had UCL surgery. So
he's out.
So he's completely out. So they are playing with a backup quarterback here. Now, if my memory serves me correct, when you have a backup quarterback, you shouldn't even be in the playoff. That's what happened to Florida State last year. We had a backup quarterback and we got left out for that reason. So I think Georgia should just drop out of this game and put somebody more deserving in there.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I'm teasing because I know the rules are different this year, but I do think that makes an interesting scenario here, having to play with a backup. Now, I will say this. I was impressed with what I saw from the backup in the SEC championship because he seemed to be poised.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that does throw a new wrinkle in. So what do you think?
Okay. First of all, I just took a look at the spread. Georgia is still favored by 2. Having said that, Georgia's running game is very strong.
Okay.
And their defense is double tough. And, the backup quarterback doesn't have to do a ton of work, trying to throw long or, getting the receivers.
And he actually has a little bit more mobility with his legs than Carson Beck did. So
then you have the running game with the QB too. So that's good. Now, this one gets especially tough because Notre Dame's defense in that game against Indiana, they looked like they were ready to tear through them like tissue paper. So, man. I'm actually going to go with the spread on this. Just to make it interesting, I'm going to make it Georgia by 2. I think it's going to be probably something along the lines of 21-19.
Okay.
Somewhere around there.
So a little lower scoring.
A lot lower scoring. I think the defense is going to play a major part in this game.
Okay.
But that's me. What do you say, Bob?
I think this is the one where the underdog wins. I like Notre Dame in this game.
Yeah.
And a lot of that has to do with I like Riley Leonard, and I think he is
he's great.
Yeah, he's a fantastic dual threat quarterback. He can beat you with his arm. He can beat you with his legs, and boy, he is tough to tackle when he gets out in space. I just like
Leonard made Indiana's defense look like a joke.
Yeah. And the thing is he's made a lot of defenses look like a joke this year. So, plus I think they have a decent running game outside of Riley Leonard as well. Their passing attack isn't too bad, but here's the key. You mentioned their defense. I think if there's any team that Georgia did not want to go up against in the first round, well, actually looking at this list, I think Texas and Penn State also have real strong defenses, but I just think Notre Dame's hungry. I like that defense of theirs, and I'm going to pull for Notre Dame, and I can't stand Notre Dame, but I'm going to pull for Notre Dame because I want to see Josh be mad. So
unless you're watching Rudy, there's no reason to root for Notre Dame. Not at all.
So, but I really do think that Riley Leonard's going to get him over the hump. I don't know. I just got this feeling. So if I had to go with a score,
it's tough.
I'm gonna say I think Notre Dame's going to actually cover the spread, and I think they're going to get a little over it. I'm going to say 23-20. Notre Dame wins.
Field goal?
Yeah, I think a field goal because I do think this is going to be on the lower end of scores, and I just like I just think Notre Dame finds a way to do it. Now, I'm not going to be surprised if Georgia wins this thing and finds a way to just be Georgia.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking Notre Dame does it. They've gotten to the playoffs several times, or not just playoff, but whether it be in the playoffs or in the BCS, and they laid eggs.
Yeah.
Not this time. I think what you saw in round one was for real, and I think they shocked the world and beat number 2 Georgia.
All
So
right.
I got Notre Dame.
Well, if that does happen, man, it's going to be fun to watch.
Yep. So.
And that game is, hold on, let me just take a look here. So that game is New Year's Day.
Yeah, that was the Sugar Bowl. It's the last of the games that night. So okay. You've got the Penn State game, the Penn State Boise State game, which is on the 31st, so New Year's Eve, and then the other 3 are on New Year's Day.
Very good.
So we're going to get some good football.
We're going to get some great football. It will definitely be better than the first round. I think it's going to be.
I think so. I think, I think that Oregon-Ohio State game is going to be extremely good. I do think the Notre Dame-Georgia game is going to be really good. The other 2, I think, have more blowout potential. I just think that Boise State and Arizona State will cover their current spreads, but I still think they'll lose by double digits.
Okay. Yeah. So. I'm an alignment. The only one that we're calling right now is I say Georgia, you say Notre Dame. Okay. But, we'll see. That's why we watch.
All right. So there we go. We'll see how these games turn out.
Should be fun. Should be fun.
Yeah, there should be. All right. Real quick, let's go ahead and check in with Josh. I found out that he already got to the party. Let's go ahead and check in. Looks like everybody's having a good time there.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for joining us, Josh. Don't want to spank you too hard.
Yeah. So anyway, let's go ahead and let's get to our next topic. And we're not going to be talking about Skeleton Crew tonight. Maybe not ever again, because
it's time to sign off.
Yeah, I think we've all kind of decided that, yeah, it's not terrible, but it's not really for us. So let's go ahead, though, and keep talking about a show that we are enjoying. And let's continue with episode 4 of Creature Commandos. All right. So this past Thursday, episode 4 of Creature Commandos was released, and boy, was this a good one here. Good one, and probably the most disturbing to watch. So let's go ahead and get into it. Real quick, let me throw up a spoiler warning.
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
Merry Christmas.
So I know it's been several days, like 5 days, whatnot, but we still want to give the spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen this. So episode 4 picks up where the Commandos have brought Cersei back to is it Belle Reve that they brought him back to?
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, to bring her back to so they can question her, or she can be questioned by Amanda Waller. And of course, the Commandos are going to go back into their holding. And there were a few surprises in the episode. Just like the previous episodes, they focus on one particular character's backstory as well. So let's just go ahead and dive right into it. What did you think of episode 4, Derek?
Okay. What I'm about to say should not deter anybody from the fact that the show is great. It's so great. This episode is great. If you haven't been watching, you should be. The scene alone between Flag and Frankenstein, that's enough to I laughed so hard when Harry met Sally. Have you seen that movie?
And then he tells him that about Titanic. You're just like Leonardo DiCaprio. Oh, which one are you? Which are you, the king of the world?
Yeah, that. It's very, very good. The interrogation scene is great too. Um, it does a lot of wonderfully creative things. Um, and the final 5 minutes do a lot of creative things too. However, folks, you better get prepared because that last 5 minutes, as good as it is incredibly rough.
Oh gosh, yeah.
We've talked about thresholds on this show before, and there's a big difference, obviously, between having the Little Mermaid look a certain way versus having stuff like kids getting killed. Now, granted, we're in an animated space here. We have a little bit of leeway. We can have some freedom. But, Bob, in my opinion, that should happen one time.
Yeah.
You can't get away with that stuff every time. Now, I understand why James Gunn did it because it does tie into a story. They want the Weasel to seem more human than he actually is. I completely get it. The Weasel can't speak. He can't talk. He can't tell you what he likes and what he doesn't like. It's a dog, at the end of the day. But at the same time, you can't show that level of violence and think you're going to get away with that every time. It's not going to work.
Yeah, no, I don't think they can pull that off again. Not in this show.
No, one time.
Literally, what they did. I mean, because they actually show some of them dying.
They do.
It's not like you just see because what for the viewers who haven't seen it or that are who have seen it, and we're hoping you've already seen it because of the spoiler warning. You had that explosion in the school with the kids in there, and they actually show some of them die, where one of them takes his last breath as the Weasel's looking to see if he can save him. And the Weasel tries to save one of the girls. And, of course, the cops are thinking that the Weasel attacked several of the kids. And so they're shooting at the Weasel and actually take him out. And as they're trying to take the Weasel out of the school, the girl's trapped. And you see the Weasel just screaming, trying to get to the girl. And it's all done at this moment where the Commandos are on their way back to the name of the country. I don't remember.
It was,
something Stan.
Yeah.
They're on their way back there. And as they're on their way back there, the Weasel's asleep. And he's basically having a nightmare of what happened. And you see him kind of moving around. Yeah. And Nina looks at him and is like, I wonder what he's dreaming about. And the bride's like, he's just chasing squirrels, And they have no idea the type of trauma that the Weasel actually went through. And I thought it was a tough scene to watch, but it really made you empathize with the Weasel in a way that I did not think I was going to empathize with this character.
And to that end, honestly, Bob, I thought the Weasel did kill those kids. I thought that's where we were going with it, where you see the character and he looks wholesome enough, big smile on his face, tongue out. But at the same time, after watching him, tear apart God knows how many people, if a little kid did something wrong or, made him mad, I thought the Weasel was totally capable of that.
Right.
That's where I thought it was going. And that would have also been terrible. Absolutely.
And I remember you saying that you thought it was going to be the most sadistic background of them all. And in a way it is, but it's not in the way you expected.
No, it wasn't. If anything, I remember watching it like this, like kind of like, oh.
You know what? And I'll say this, because I wasn't sure how James Gunn was going to get away with that scene, because they mentioned that the Weasel was accused of killing all these kids.
Truth.
And I wondered how they were going to do his backstory without getting too graphic.
Yeah.
And yet it took a completely different direction than what I thought. And like I said, it really made me empathize with this character in a way that I was not expecting. So yeah, wow. That was rough. Also, you mentioned the scene with Frankenstein. I like where you first see Frankenstein, and he's up on the chopper, and he's got the binoculars, and he's looking at Rick Flag. He's like, as he's standing there with the bride, and he's like, look at the way she looks at him. She loves him. Him and his perfect face, his bearded face. And then the guy behind him is like, okay, well, we need to land. And he's like, oh, are you making fun of me because I don't have a beard on my face? Because I can't grow a beard? You think I'm a baby man?
He's a sensitive Shakespearean. Like, just
but he's so sensitive. He turns around and he snaps their necks like it's nothing. I'm just like, wow.
Well, that's why you keep watching the show, right? It's so good. It's so good in so many ways. And go ahead.
No, I was going to say, what did you think of the vision that Cersei showed Amanda Waller? Because during the vision, you see a lot of the superheroes that are in James Gunn's universe. You see the current version of Superman.
You sure do.
You see Wonder Woman's tiara, and you see Peacemaker.
Yep.
You see Batman. So there are several of heroes, and I know there's a few others on there too. Those are just the ones that came to my mind right now.
Yeah.
What did you think of the vision?
Well, number one, just for the show, that's the level of threat that you need with this show, right? Like, it's not the Suicide Squad, but if these folks are going to go after somebody that's that bad, that is that bad. So that actually would add up in terms of a really scary supervillain.
Okay.
That was very interesting. Also, not what I was expecting, but fun because now they have to try to decipher if she is really the villain that the Vision was holding, or if I forget this girl's name, the one that was being interrogated. I'm sorry.
Oh, Cersei.
Or if Cersei is full of it. Like if she's just straight up lying. No one really knows. So that's what all these episodes are leading up to, which is the remainder of them. So I'm here for it. I think it's going to be very interesting storytelling for the next 3 episodes, because you have to figure that out. And there's only 2 members left of the Creature Commandos that we do not have backstory with. So that has to enter into this as well.
Right.
One of them is Dr. Phosphorus. The other is Nina. So that's episodes 5 and 6. And then the culmination is probably at number 7. And we'll see what happens.
I think the next one, because I saw the promo, the next one's actually going to show the backstory to Frankenstein.
Oh, well, then if that's the case, then we have 3 backstories to get through. Okay.
That one looks like it could be fun.
Yeah.
I
love David Harbour. He's so good.
When he took the pen and he wrote Rick Flag's name on his hand, I half expected him to draw a beard on himself. I did. I thought he was going to do that there for a second, because he was saying how, look at, she loves him with that bearded face. And then it's just funny, the fight sequence, like you said, that he has with Rick Flag. And, because Flag's, ready to shoot him, and he's like, ha, I'm laughing. She's never going to love you. And there's all these tears coming down his face.
Your story of love is so powerful.
He's like, I wouldn't really call it love.
Best friends.
Yeah. And he's like, what? What?
Okay.
For this episode was just a little bit longer than some of the others by a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
I will say this: there was a lot in this episode for that 26, for that 25, 26 minutes. Boy, this was some good stuff on this one. Like I said, really tough to watch at the end. What they did with the Weasel in that story was wow.
Yeah.
That one blew me away, but really good. I mean, I can't say from a storytelling standpoint, I thought it was really good.
And that's really what we're looking for out of all this stuff. And so if it continues like this, we're not going to be disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, good stuff. I'm looking forward to the next episode.
Me too.
Should be fun. Just off the top of your head, do you think that the princess is really as bad as what Cersei's saying? Because I have a feeling she is.
I think she's not only as bad as she's saying, I think she wants the prince in Rick Flag to be her king.
You might be right.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think she's going to try to convert him over to the other side, and we'll see how that goes.
How about that? That could work. That it could go in that direction.
He seems to really have a jonesing for her.
Yeah, well, he does. He's willing to go back to try to save her. So
I know exactly, with Frankenstein of all people.
Yeah. that should be fun.
It's still a great show, folks. Go out and watch it. If you haven't watched it yet, please take our word for it. It's great.
Just put the kids to bed before you watch it.
Put the kids to bed and make sure they're asleep.
Absolutely,
man.
All right. Anything else about episode 4?
No, I think I'm done. Love the Weasel.
Gosh, yeah. Like I said, I really started empathizing with this character. So
me too. No, and I, honest to God, thought that he really did kill those kids. I really did. But man, what a swerve! You got me on that.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
So, good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Real quick before we get into our next topic, I just wanted to share another video, Derek, of you and your dog. So,
please do.
Here we go.
All right, that's enough. Knock it off. Beat it.
Hey, look, I didn't hit him.
All right.
Just like, get away.
All right. Let's go ahead and we'll get into our next topic here. And we're going to go ahead and start or get into our fantasy recap for week 6.
Oh, here we go.
All right. So this is week 16.
Mm-hmm.
We've only got a couple of weeks left of the regular season. And like I said, we've got the playoffs because we actually do the playoffs with DraftKings. So let's get into weekend. Unfortunately, last week.
Well, now isn't this a shame because Josh should be here to accept this?
Yeah, last week, Josh really put it on the two of us.
You bunch of losers!
Still got to have that.
Of course.
But this week was a much different story. And, of course, Josh found himself back in last place. So,
shout out to J.K. Simmons.
Yeah, it's been a while since he's made an appearance on the show.
He always has a spot here.
Yeah. So Josh was in last place. And what makes that funny is that he was actually beating you the entire day up until the last 2 minutes of that San Francisco-Miami game. Not even 2 minutes, last minute and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And he was beating you. He went with Josh Allen, who had a bad day. But Buffalo got their points on the defensive side and on the rushing attack. Jahmyr Gibbs, he played 28.4 points. James Conner, 29.6, but James Conner did get hurt. So otherwise, he probably would have had a much higher score because he got most of those points, that 29.6, like in the first half. Yeah. He went with Mac Hollins, 4.5 points. McLaurin, 17, did fine. Jerry Jeudy, not too good. And without Jameis Winston, I don't think that the Cleveland offense is going to be as prolific. Interceptions aside, he opens up the potential of that offense. He went with Gesicki, 3.4. Damian Gibson, minus 1 point because he had a fumble, and that was the only thing that he got from him. The Seattle Seahawks, 3 points. His final score was 101.06. Final verdict.
Get out of here, you nosy little pervert, or I'm going to slap you silly.
Oh, man. He looks just like him in that suit.
Hold on, I got to see that again. Here.
Get out of here, you nosy little pervert, or I'm going to slap you silly.
Look at them. They look related. Tell me I'm wrong.
I didn't even see it until you mentioned it. Oh. Josh, let this be a lesson to you because I know you're going to watch this later. Let this be a lesson to you. Do not miss the show because you're not here to defend yourself. So. All right. We do get into our second place. And like I said, you got the second place literally in the last minute and a half. And I had to pull this picture out again because that was too good of a picture last week. So I had to use the same one. You went with Brock Purdy, and this is where you were able to beat him in that last minute and a half because Purdy did go over 300 yards, which gave you the 3-point bonus. And he had the just a couple of big passes there at the end, which put him over. So he had 25.12 points. You went with Patrick Taylor. I almost played him. I'm glad I didn't. He had 3.5. Bijan Robinson, 24.3. I was a little disappointed in this because I played him as well. Not that he did badly with 24 points, but he was 6 yards away from the 100-yard bonus, which would have given him another 3 points. Puka Nacua, 13.6. Cooper Kupp, 5.4. I actually like, though, that you played both receivers because it's a cheap way that you could play the two receivers without having to play the quarterback with them. Wan'Dale Robinson, 13.2 points. Kyle Pitts, 1.7. Boy, Pitts he can't make up his mind if he's going to be a good tight end or not. Mm-hmm. But then again, in all fairness, he did have a rookie throwing to him this week. So Amir Abdullah, a really good play. I almost went with Abdullah, and it was a good play because he was only 4,600. He got you 19.5 points. The Cardinals defense, minus 1 point. You should have learned your lesson when Josh played the Cardinals defense and got minus 1 or 2 points. Your final score was 105.32. Final verdict.
Does your dig that? Oh, let's dig it. I thought you said your dog did not bite.
That is not my dog.
The dog references yet again.
I told you were going to get some dog references.
Fair enough.
So, all right. We get into our champ for the week.
There it is.
I went with Penix. I actually took the risk and went with him simply because he was only 4,500. So he had 7.38 points. He doesn't kill me at 4,500. Did go with Bijan also, and I went with Jahmyr Gibbs. Gibbs, again, did really well. I played Malik Washington from Miami, 5.8 points. Again, he was only 3,700, so it doesn't kill me. Malik Neighbors, he got me a couple of big catches right in the end in garbage time, and so he finished with 13.8, so he didn't kill me. Keenan Allen, boy, he was a great play for me. 32.1 points, 141 yards receiving, a receiving touchdown. He got the 100-yard bonus, 9 catches. But on the flip side, Trey McBride didn't do very well for me, only 5 points. Brees Hall was fine with 14. I went with the Jets defense at 3 points. My total score was 133.78. Final verdict.
Thank you, Sato. Pleasure to do business with you.
That's so good. That's so good.
I knew you would like that one.
That was incredible.
Well, that might be the best clip we played for a victory yet.
So far, so good. So far, so good. Yeah.
All right. And so our leaderboard, you and Josh are still tied at 6 apiece, and I'm right behind you with 5. But again, because we've got the 2 regular season games and at least the 3 weeks of the playoffs, not counting the Super Bowl, so we still got 5 contests to go. So it is anybody's game. So yeah, it was still anybody's game. So
man, don't tell Josh that.
I can't wait for him to go and watch that and hear that. I can't wait for him to see his clip.
Get out of here, you nosy little pervert, or I'm going to slap you silly.
I mean, I thought mine was good. That's better.
No, yours is good because of the dog.
Well, yeah, no, I because I deserve hate. So
I kid you not. When I was getting those clips together and I put the dog one together, boy, was I laughing because more comments just kept coming in. Like one person commented here recently, just in the last couple hours or so. Don't you be talking shit about crypto. So I'm just like, okay.
And look, like I just said, folks, like crypto, okay? It's fine. I was just telling you what I thought about it. Like, go enjoy it.
Like I had told you, I saw one of my favorite podcasts, and they were pretty split on crypto too. So I think crypto, for the most part, will probably be liked by the general audience, but I do think like some hardcore comic fans, even though they like crypto in the comic, may not like the fact that he shows up in a movie. So we'll see, because I was cool with him. I liked him, but I understand why you didn't, and we'll see how the final product looks.
Well, I also have to say, I grew up without crypto in movies too. Okay, like every single Superman movie I've seen is just Superman being Superman. So now the fact that he has a pet with him throws me off. I mean, that's just me. And again, if you like crypto, great. Have fun with it.
Yep. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, for our last topic here, we're going to do something that's for the holidays, and I think we're going to have some fun with this one here.
Good one.
So that was my list right there, as Lily would say.
That's the list.
We are going to be listing off our top 5 favorite Christmas movies. Of course, with a couple honorable mentions like we always do when we do these countdowns. Now, just for transparency, I actually did a list of this over on my other channel and did a ranking. And I'll put the link to that video in the description below in case you want to go check it out, because I got movie clips and all that stuff with each of my choices. So, but I'm just going to be rehashing those that list here because it didn't change in the last couple of weeks. So
I understood. I got you.
All right. So let's start off with you, Derek. Why don't you give me both of your honorable mentions?
Okay. I'm really going to make people mad now. I don't like the holidays. I don't care for the holidays. I think that summer is the best time of the year. So when it comes to my holiday movies, you're not going to really think that it's going to be anything splendid because it's all the inappropriate ones. I mean, it's the ones with like rated R language. It's the ones that are completely out of line. It's not just about the holiday season. I hate the cold. I don't like the fact that it gets dark early. I just don't like any of it. Okay. Now again, send your hate mail to me, and then I'll forward it to Josh.
They already are.
Yeah, exactly. But okay, let me go ahead and give my one honorable mention because I don't have two.
Okay.
My honorable mention for number 6 is Bad Santa 2.
Okay.
The ending of that movie when the little guy is strapped to the bed, and then there's a little bit of unzipping of the pants, and that's when the holiday song plays, and Billy Bob Thornton smiles at him. Like, it's so over the top and gross that it makes me happy every time I watch it, especially in terms of the holiday season, because like it makes me laugh and it makes me feel good. That's what it is. I mean, everything about those movies is completely inappropriate, but that's also why I like it. Now, ultimately, Billy Bob Thornton does the right thing and is trying to get Christmas presents to people that he cares about. But it's not like he's a saint either. He's terrible, which is why I like it. It's terrible people trying to make something work with the holidays. So that's my honorable mention.
Okay.
I only have the one, but you give your two, Bob.
All right. The first of my honorable mentions is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. And I just think this is a fun movie. I like, Chevy Chase in the role as Clark Griswold, as he plays this character in all these vacation movies. He's a lot of fun. He always goes over the top and overboard, trying to make sure that his family has the perfect vacation. And he does the same thing here. He puts way too many lights up on the house. They don't seem to work. He finally gets them working, and it's siphoning off power from all the town surrounding it, even from like the nuclear power plant and everything. He buys a tree that's too big for his living room. His cousin Eddie shows up. Everything seems to be going wrong. His tree gets burned down. A squirrel gets loose in their house. His bonus he's been waiting for turns out it was like I forget exactly what it was. It was like for like some gift certificate or something like that instead of an actual bonus that he was expecting because he was wanting to put in a pool. And so just everything goes wrong for him. What's that?
The Jelly Club.
Yeah, that's what it was. It's from the Jelly Club. And I just think this movie's a lot of fun. Is it perfect? No, it's not my favorite of the vacation films. I think the original is still better.
Sure.
But Christmas Vacation is one of the better ones in that franchise, and it is the first of my honorable mentions. Okay. The second of my honorable mentions is The Muppet Christmas Carol. Now, one of the reasons I love this movie so much is because it's an adaptation of Charles Dickens' classic, but because it's a Muppet movie, you've got the flair and stuff that the Muppets bring to it. For example, you got a moment where Kermit the Frog, who's playing Bob Cratchit, and he's approaches Scrooge, who's played by Michael Caine, and he's fantastic as Scrooge. But he approaches Scrooge about putting extra coal in the fire, and they have a bunch of rats that work for them as bookkeepers. And Kermit's like, well, the bookkeeping staff would like you to have would like for you to put an extra shovel full of coal for the fire. And they're like, we can't keep the books. All of our pens have turned to inksicles, and he looks at them and he's like, well, how would the bookkeepers like to be unemployed? And all of a sudden they're like, heat wave, and they start dancing around, and they got all these feathers coming out and hula skirts and everything and stuff. So the Muppets bring their own flair. There's singing, there's dancing. All of our favorite Muppets are there. But the highlight of the movie is Michael Caine. I think he does a really good job in the role of Scrooge. He's what you expect from the character, but because it's a Muppet movie, he has a little bit of heart and warmth to the character that you would expect for a Muppet movie. I think he does a really good job in the movie. He has to even sing at one point. I loved the arc that he went on because I like the Scrooge story, of course, but I love the arc that he went on and the way he represented this character. So for this reason, this is my second honorable mention.
Well done. Big hit at one point over in our household. I want to say that was about 2 years ago. Big hit.
Yeah, it's a good one. If you like the Muppets, I think it's a solid Muppet movie. Again,
sure.
This is kind of like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. It's not the best in the Muppet franchise, but it is a solid entry in the Muppet franchise of movies, and it's one of their better ones. And I think it's just a great, solid Christmas movie. So again, that's on my list. So what's your number 5?
Okay, my number 5 is the fact that, well, if we're going to do Bad Santa 2, the first one's even better.
It is better.
The fact where they're playing that beautiful, like, old Christmas carol, and Billy Bob Thornton is sitting there in his Santa suit just drinking through the parking lot, and it ends with him chucking that that vodka bottle onto a windshield and setting off the car alarm. Jesus Christ! Like, and some of the one-liners he has with the kid sitting on his lap are just tremendous. I love.
Oh yeah, those are good. Those are hilarious.
Yeah. I'm not going to say the curse word here, but I'm on my lunch break, okay? Spitting out a bunch of chicken, like at the kid and his mom. Oh my God, it's so good. And just the idea of the fact that, like, it's this thief that's such a scumbag that somehow he gets a little bit of pure heart at the end of it is very, very funny. Not to mention the fact that the incomparable John Ritter, rest in peace, and Bernie Mac, rest in peace, are in this, and both of them are gold in this movie too. It's a very, very, very funny and appropriate holiday movie. It'll check all the boxes for you. Put the kids to bed. Parents, watch this. You'll laugh. If you haven't already, which I'm sure you have.
That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Your number 5.
My number 5 is the movie Scrooged with Bill Murray. And this is a fantastic adaptation of the Scrooge story. It is it's the story with a modern twist. Yeah. And I say modern, I mean, this came out in the 80s. So even now, it's an older film. But when it came out, I thought it was a great twist to it. I was a kid when I saw it. Probably shouldn't have seen it as a kid because it is a little bit darker. No. This is not one you sit down with the little kids with. Teenagers, okay. But yeah, I mean, I think it had a PG rating when it came out, but they didn't have PG-13 at the time.
It was R when I saw it.
Was it R?
Yeah.
I'm curious. I just want to look it up real quick, see what rating it holds today. Yeah, it holds a PG-13 rating, so it is a strong PG-13. We'll put it that way.
Okay,
and just an example.
The time when we watched it.
I mean, just an example. Bill Murray plays Frank Cross, who is a television executive, and his company or his studio is putting on a live production of Scrooge, and he's got a gymnast who's playing Tiny Tim. He's got these dancers that are burlesque dancers, basically. And at one point, they've got the censor there who's checking to make sure that the clothes are appropriate. And she's like, these clothes, we can't show this on television. And Bill Murray's like, why not? And the censor's like, well, you can see her nipples. And he's like, well, I want to see her nipples. And you have two guys that are standing right there from the stage crew. And they're like, you can hardly see her nipples. And he's like, you see, and they're really looking.
That's so good. It's so good.
So that's what I mean by there's a lot of inappropriate jokes for that. So it's not for the kids, but it is hilarious. The take that they do, like with the ghosts, the one who plays his boss, who's like the Jacob Marley character, he looks horrible. You know, the ghosts themselves are eccentric, they're fun. Especially the Ghost of Christmas Present. Isn't she that lady who was in The Princess Bride as Billy Crystal's wife? I think it's the same lady, isn't it?
Oh, Carol Kane? Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah,
No.
she's fantastic as the Ghost of Christmas Present.
Back to Harlem.
Yeah, and at one point she covers Pillsbury's ears so he can't hear what he was being given as a gift. And when she takes her hands off his ears, she's like, I know something you don't know. I know something you know. So she's fantastic.
I like the rough stuff, Frank.
Yes, a lot of jokes like that. But Bill Murray is really good as this character. I think he is fantastic. He's the type of character everybody is scared of. And the arc that he goes on is great. You have what's the guy's name? The comedian from Police Academy.
Bobcat Goldthwait.
Yes, he's in the movie as a guy that he fires, and there's a whole
home.
Yes, there's a whole subplot there that I think is a lot of fun. You have Karen Allen, who plays his long lost love, Claire. She played in the Raiders of the Lost Ark and the Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. So she's fun to have in this film. It's just a really good adaptation of the Scrooge story. So that's my number 5.
Well done. Well said, sir.
What do you got at number 4?
Okay. At number 4, hold on, where's my list? Let me get it here. Okay. At number 4, I'm actually going to say Office Christmas Party.
Okay.
Have you ever seen it?
No, I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
You should. It's fantastic.
Okay.
It stars Jason Bateman.
Oh my God, I already know it's going to be good then.
Jennifer Aniston is in it. It's got this incredible, funny cast. So I'll give you the plot here. When there's Jennifer Aniston plays a CEO who is trying to close her brother's branch of the company that they work for.
Okay.
Her brother is played by T.J. Miller, who you guys probably know from Silicon Valley. He's been in a bunch of other stuff too. He was the lead voice in the Emoji Movie. He's played a lot of really great stuff. But the problem is they're not going down without a fight, this branch. So what they have to do is really impress this new investor in order to put money into their branch in order for them not to close. So in order to do this, I believe the TJ Miller thinks that the best way to do it is to throw an epic Christmas party. And that epic Christmas party gets completely out of hand in the best ways. But I'm not going to say anything more than that because I don't want to give you a spoiler.
Okay.
But it gets to a point where you can't even believe like what is going to happen. It is just party scenes and debauchery, like in a way that
right up your alley.
Oh, it's perfect. It's great. But you can appreciate it too. But I remember watching it with Kate one year, and she got to a point where she was like, "Oh my god!" Like hands up here. Like this is getting out of hand, and it does. But it's a lot of fun. All of it is a lot of fun. And if you like debauchery in your holiday movies, believe me when I tell you, this is a lot of fun. And it's a lot of actors and actresses that you will totally appreciate. You have a lot of fun with this movie. You will.
All right.
But again, put the kids to bed. Watch your Creature Commandos, and then have a romantic evening, holiday evening with the husband and wife watching Office Christmas Party. Yeah,
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. My number 4 is The Santa Claus with Tim Allen.
Yep.
The Santa Claus is a fantastic film. At the core of the story, you have this divorced father who's trying to connect with his son, who he's got custody of on Christmas Eve. He finds out that somebody told his son at school that there was no such thing as Santa Claus, and the stepfather didn't help out. The stepfather's played by Judge Reinhold, and he's like a psychologist or a psychiatrist, and he kind of adds to that. And so Tim Allen wants to preserve his kids, thoughts and good feelings of Santa. So, he reads them the night before Christmas and tries to do everything he can to preserve that. Well, later that night, they hear something up on the roof. They go outside, and of course, Santa's up on his roof and falls off the roof. The son, Charlie, believes that he is Santa, and Tim Allen's character, Scott, is not sure what to think, so he goes to check his ID, and he gets this card. And on the card, it says, if something should happen to me, put on my suit, the reindeer will know what to do. And sure enough, he puts on the suit at Charlie's request. They go up to the roof. There's some reindeer, and he ends up going and delivering presents to all of the world. And the way they do some of that is pretty cool, especially addressing the houses that don't have chimneys and stuff like that. So I thought that was kind of cool. But the catch is, by putting on the suit, he actually accepted a contract to become the next Santa, and he goes through this Santification process throughout the next year, where he's getting fatter, his hair's going white, and all of this stuff. And he's not sure what's going on. His ex thinks that he's changing his appearance in order to make Charlie like him, when that's not what's happening. And in reality, Charlie's the only one who believes in who he is. And through that, the two of them actually come together through this belief. And that's why I like this film so much, because that's really the heart of the story, is this connection between this father and son. And it's something that, as a parent, you can really relate to. So the Santa Claus is my number 4.
Well said. Well said.
What do you got at number 3?
Okay. Well, my number 3 was Scrooged. So, I've always loved Bill Murray. Actually, if I am able to show you behind some bins over there, my sister got me a poster of the films of William James Murray.
Okay.
And it has little bubbles with some icons in them, and you have to really guess them in terms of what the films are. And if you look at the bottom of it, all the answers are upside down, like in the little footnote there. So I'm a huge Bill Murray fan to start, but the reason I love Scrooge is because it's Bill Murray at his most sarcastic. We got to know Bill Murray from his most sarcastic with Peter Venkman at first, but this is his vicious sarcastic. Like, when he really wants to lay it on, he can. What was the line? With Grace, sir, you're going to fire him now?
And yeah, she's like, she just shakes his head, and she's like, but it's Christmas. And he's like, thank you.
And gives her a hug. He goes, cancel his bonus, get him out of here. Pack his stuff up. And I already told Bob this, but this is one of my favorite parts in the whole movie. Grace, what the hell is this? And it's a picture. It's a picture of her kid's drawing, her daughter's drawing of Santa and Mrs. Claus. Do you like it? My daughter drew it, at school. Grace, how many fingers does Mrs. Claus have? 11? Right, 11. It's crap. Lose it. I don't want to see it again. It crumples.
Yeah, he takes it and tears it up.
It's he's such a jerk, like, in every which way.
Well, like even the scene with where they're trying to glue the little antlers onto the to the mice.
Yeah,
Because the head of the television network told Bill Murray that he wanted a dormouse
yes.
in Scrooge,
Have
and
you
even
started
though there was
dating?
no dormice, but he wants them in there, so he wants more than one. So he wants
Yeah.
dormice, and so they're taking these little antlers and they're going to glue them on there. And this guy approaches Bill Murray and he's like, "We can't get these little antlers to glue on there," and he's like, "Well, have you tried staples?"
Don't you dare! He has no remorse. No,
Yeah, none.
it's great.
You thought Derek was mean to crypto. This guy was even worse than Weiss.
I got nothing on Frank Cross. Nothing at all. If anything, oh gosh, it's funny. We were I was watching this and Kate caught a clip of this when Frank Cross was with the Ghost of Christmas Present after boxing, because that's what they do. But he was with his younger brother, and his wife was like, "Well, when are you going to give up on him? Like, he never does anything for you. Like, why would you still want to be involved?" And he goes, "Well, I'm never going to give up on him. He's my brother."
Yeah.
And the face that Frank Cross makes is like my younger son looking at his older brother when his older brother does something really nice for him.
Yeah.
It's like, like when he's really mad at him. Oh, it's so good. And that's a relatable face. I also love the fact that Bobcat Goldthwait and him have their moment when he's trying to shoot him. He's trying to get
Oh, Wabbit! He's like, "Hey, can I get a running start?" Sure.
It's a really just genuinely funny movie. So that's why I love it. Bob already gave his take on it, so I just thought I'd give it a little bit of an extra nod there.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Good choice. My number 3 is actually the only religious one. Well, not even religious, but it's the only one that's got the religious element to it on my list. And that is a brand new one that just came out. I really liked this movie, and this was the best Christmas pageant ever. It's based on a book, and it's directed by Dallas Jenkins, who directed The Chosen. Or he's the writer and director of The Chosen. So he had been trying to get the rights to this book to make a movie for a long time. And I was listening to an interview with him and how he was able to get those rights finally. And it took years and years and years, and they kind of just opened back up. And he approached the guy who could get him the rights. And by that point, Dallas had already done The Chosen. And so he had a little bit more clout to him. And so they were more readily to give him the rights to it. And what he did with this film, I thought was really good because, like I said, it has its faith-based element, but it's not overly preachy, yet it never compromises its message. It finds a good balance. And the basic story is that you've got these kids, it takes place in this small town, and you've got these kids, the Herdmans, that nobody's ever seen their parents. The dad, I think, took off, and the mom is always working, so nobody really ever sees them. So the kids are always on their own, and they're known as being the worst kids in the history of the world, is the way everybody says it. They are the worst kids in the history of the world. And they just do everything wrong. At one point, you're seeing one of them smoking a cigar and all this stuff. So they're stealing, they're pushing people off of roofs, they're doing all this crazy stuff. And the local church is hosting its annual Christmas pageant. And the main characters, the story is actually told through this one little girl, and her mother is the one who gets assigned to do the pageant, or well, she volunteers to do the pageant. She's played by Judy Greer, and she's really good in this movie. And the Herdmans basically see this as an opportunity to get like free food and all this stuff from the church. So they show up and they start invading the pageant. They make sure nobody volunteers for any of the parts so they can get all the parts in the pageant. But as it goes on, they become more open to the Christmas story and they hear of what it's about. And ultimately it has an impact on them to where it affects them. But the Herdmans themselves also have an impact on the people in the church as well. So everybody kind of grows from this experience. The cast, you got Judy Greer, Pete Holmes. He's the comedian. He's funny.
Pete Holmes is awesome.
Yeah, he's good. He plays the dad in this, or the husband for Judy Greer, and he's hilarious because his character is just kind of matter of fact, like, well, if the Herdmans are in the pageant, this might be the first one where we see the manger get burned down, and he's like. But he's cool with it, he's like, it'll be exciting, so he's cool. And then the actress who plays the older Herdman, I think she's really good. The one who plays the girl who's telling the story, she's really good. But the narrator is actually Lauren Graham from Gilmore Girls. Mm-hmm. And she has some good comedic timing. So she was perfect as the narrator. You don't actually see her until the end of the film, but she's good as the narrator. Really good film. It's very heartwarming and endearing. This is the only new one on my list. Now, that could change after I've seen it a few times, but I've seen it a couple times, and so far, I really, really love this movie. So it is number 3 on my list.
Okay. I should also mention something just in terms of what I mentioned before about the holiday season. Folks, just because I don't like the holiday season doesn't mean I'm going to ruin it for everybody else. So, you know what? Bob, good on you for that. And I'm going to check it out.
It's actually fun. And like I said, I like the fact that it's not overly preachy because, we've talked about messaging and stuff like that in films. Yeah. And I don't care if it's one way or the other. And it's not the messages themselves that bother me. It's when you do it at the expense of good storytelling, that you're more focused on messaging as opposed to good storytelling. And this very much tells the Christmas story in a way that's not overly preachy, but it never compromises where it's coming from. And at the same time, it's a very entertaining story and endearing as well. Like I said, it's got a good cast. Dallas Jenkins did a pretty good job directing it. So overall, I thought this was a really good Christmas movie. I liked it a lot.
Okay, very good. I'm going to keep an open mind with that. And I'll check it out.
What do you got as number 2?
Well, can I just add one more point about Scrooge? Because I forgot to add one of my favorite scenes in the movie.
Do it.
Lou, Frank Cross's boss. When he shows up, woohoo! That was a good one.
I like where where Lou takes off his glasses and he's missing his eyeballs, and Bill Murray's just like, oh,
it was so intense.
But what I love is that he's like, I had it all. I was feared by men, adored by women. And Bill Murray's like,
come on, Lou, you paid for the women.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
No. You are good. That worked out. That was perfect right there.
And also, when Frank Cross tries to shoot Lou and he's pouring a drink at the bar, I don't mind if you shoot me, Frank, but take it easy on the Bacardi.
Here's something I want to mention about Scrooge real quick before we move to number 2. The ending scene where everybody's singing and Bill Murray's like, okay, now this side of the theater, now that side of the theater. I was in a kid at the time that came out, and I saw it in the theaters with my folks because at the time we were in Germany. My dad was stationed there, and it was one of the movies. The theater that they had, they would show one movie every night. It was a different movie every night of the week, and because they only had one screen, at that particular theater, and so you had to get tickets early and whatnot, because if you didn't, you weren't gonna get there for
You
the
weren't
show.
gonna go.
Oh, that was a tough crowd too. If the film projector or something went off, everybody. Whoa! But anyway, I have to point that out because when Bill Murray was going, okay, now this side of the theater, people were actually singing. You had a bunch of soldiers and stuff turning around singing. So that movie actually has some heart to it, despite all of the humor and everything. It's got some heart to it. So I did want to point that out.
No, the speech that he gives at the end when he finally like sees the light, you can't not like it. It's
really
it's
good.
really, really great. And that's the beauty. That's the beauty of Bill Maher, because you could tell he was doing that off the cuff. Like he wasn't reading a script,
Which he does a lot. So
which he does a ton. But that one was it was well done.
Really.
Okay, my number 2. People have argued that this could be or could not be a holiday movie. Yes, it is a holiday movie. It's called Die Hard. Right? I don't want to hear any of this anymore.
Hey, the fact that it's Christmas is essential to the plot, because the events don't happen if it's not Christmas.
If it's not Christmas. So if anybody is telling me that this isn't a holiday movie, knock it off. It absolutely is. And it's a great holiday movie. Dads out there, if you need a holiday movie, go watch. You know what you're supposed to watch. Okay? Go. And if your wife is kind enough to watch with you, man, that's a special evening. That's
there you go.
Get comfy with each other. This is a fantastic movie with so many fun action sequences, so many great characters. I can't say enough about it. Bruce Willis, Alan Rickman. I could go on and on here. The dad from Family Matters, who I can't remember his name right now. But it's such a great action movie. And it's great for the holiday season. It does all the things it should do. Checks all the boxes. I'm pretty sure that they made this movie for dads who were just like, yeah, I don't want to watch any of that stuff anymore. And they were like, well, here, we'll give you a movie. And they gave us one at that time. Now, it's a little bit different now, obviously. But Takahashi Towers, I think there's shirts out there that actually show the towers. I should buy one of those shirts. I love this movie. It never gets old, ever. And don't get it twisted. You can still watch Die Hard 2, Die Hard 3, and all of them still work. But this is the first, and it's a great one. And the reason that there are 4 others is because of this first one, obviously. So for me, I love Detective John McClane. I love, I don't know if I love his wife, Holly. He seems to get in a lot of arguments with her, but that's a different discussion. But the fact that we have Alan Rickman again as the villain is fantastic. And all his henchmen are fantastic too in this film. Really villainous. It's great. There's nothing that you can't appreciate if you love a good action movie. You're going to have fun here.
All right.
Yeah.
Good choice. All right. My number 2 is How the Grinch Stole Christmas. We've already seen a few clips of this one so far tonight. So Jim Carrey plays the Grinch. It's directed by Ron Howard. Jim Carrey delivers a really good performance as the Grinch. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea. Some people weren't a big fan of it. I happen to really like this film. I think it is heartwarming. Jim Carrey is the Grinch. He plays him in the only way that you would expect Jim Carrey to play a character, and it works really well for this character. The makeup, they specifically designed his makeup to work with his facial expressions, so it works really well. The relationship or the friendship that he developed with Cindy Lou is very heartwarming. The 2 characters have some great interactions. I love the sequence where she goes to invite him to come to the holiday party because he was elected cheermeister. and Cindy Lou's the one who actually nominated him, and so she goes to invite him. And I love where she says, "You got to accept the award." And all of a sudden he stops because he kept telling her no. And she's like, "You got to accept the award." And he's like, "Award? You never said there'd be an award." She's like, "Yeah, a trophy and everything." He's like, "I won?" She's like, "Yeah, you won." That means they were losers. A town full of losers. So, and of course he goes to the party. He's knocking kids over in this sack race. He becomes the judge of all the different cooking contests. So they're shoving pudding down his mouth, fudge down his mouth, all these different fruit cakes and all this stuff. It's great. There's actually a backstory as to why he hates all the Who's in Whoville. The scene where he actually dresses up as Santa and goes down and starts stealing everybody's stuff is a lot of fun. But ultimately, the scene where he realizes that Christmas is more than just the commercialism of it, I think that's so good. The music, and Anthony Hopkins, I forgot to mention, he narrates this thing.
Thank you for that.
Yes, and he is great as the narrator of this.
Yeah,
and
great.
It just goes really well with Jim Carrey, and of course Jim Carrey, of course, overplays it where the heart for the Grinch grew 3 sizes, and he's like he's having a heart attack. He's like, ah! And all of a sudden the heart is like beating. It's great. I love this movie. Again, Jim Carrey delivers a really, really good performance. So the Grinch, How the Grinch Stole Christmas is my number 2.
Yeah, that's a good call. We were also into that, I want to say probably about 2 years back. And Dominic can still watch it. Carson, I think, likes a little bit more of the animated one. But
okay.
if we were to watch the live action one, it would still play. Jim Carrey's fantastic.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah. And Jeffrey Tambor, who can forget him at all that? Fantastic.
All of them were great.
Oh yeah, no, everybody did a great job in the movie. So there's nothing not to like here, folks. It's directed by Ron Howard.
Yeah, and the designs of everything are really good.
Really good.
I just overall thought this was a really good movie. I remember this is a movie that when I went to see it in theaters, it got a standing ovation from the audience. So
yeah, absolutely, for sure.
In fact, I remember going with Josh to see it because Josh had wanted to see the movie, and
what did he complain about?
What doesn't he complain about? Yeah, I remember he enjoyed it as well. So I mean, it was a good movie. So that's my number 2. But now we are getting to our number 1, and I have a feeling we might have the same one on here.
Oh, do you now?
Maybe. I'll know once you say it, and then if you do, I'll interrupt you just to mention it. But
well, I can already tell you don't.
Okay. So in that case,
your number 7 was my number 1.
Oh, okay. So go ahead. Tell me about
National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation is my absolute favorite movie for the holidays. And the reason I say that is because now it is not only the right level of inappropriate, but it's the right level where you can introduce your kids to it. We were just watching this movie earlier today, and we were watching the AMC version of where the cuss words are bleeped out, and my oldest laughed hysterically when Clark Griswold gave the rant about his boss, and was just like, that's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Like, because he goes off on, everybody knows, like a 2-minute rant about how he hates what his boss did to him by, taking his bonus away.
And he's drinking all the eggnog.
Yeah. But his most favorite line in the movie was, "We're not the happiest Christmas we've ever seen."
I love that that crazy aunt of his. What was her name again? Oh shoot, I can't remember her name.
I can't remember her name. Was it Betty? No. Was it Benny? Wait.
Hold on, let me look it up real quick.
Yeah, let's do it. Wait, she passed away 30 years ago.
Yes. No, they want you to say grace.
That blessing.
Let me see.
I pledge allegiance to the flag.
No, it wasn't Nora.
No, one her.
No. Going through the cast here. Hold on. Was it Bethany? It was Bethany.
It was Bethany. Yep, that was it.
She is hilarious. You know what I like is that Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo, they're in all of these. It's the kids that always have to be recast.
Yep.
And you had Juliette Lewis as
you
the
did.
daughter in this one.
And then Julie Louise Dreyfus
as the neighbor. Oh gosh,
as that brat neighbor, but her and her husband. It's so good. And honestly, it is a heartwarming film at the end of the day too, because when Chevy Chase gets trapped up in the attic and just has some footage to watch of when he was growing up with the holidays, you find out that it's not easy to host holidays when you want to. But at the end of the day, you somehow make it work. Like his dad said, I had a lot of help from Jack Daniels, but somehow you make it work. And that's what it's the right level of inappropriate for both kids and adults.
There you go.
And that's why it's number one for me, because everybody can appreciate it. My favorite scene, honestly, is when they flash up the end and the ball burns out. It's just Chevy Chase with that Rottweiler next to him. What's his name? Snot?
Oh, yeah, Snot. And he's like, we named him because he's got this condition.
And they just sit there looking, at the sky, just like, okay, we did it. They're like somewhat pleased, but it's just like, okay, it's done. Like, that's it. Roll the credits. It's perfect. I love it.
Good choice.
Yeah,
it's a good choice.
Yeah.
I don't. There's not a whole lot bad I can say about that movie. So,
but to you, sir.
All right, my number one is actually kind of a cheat because it's two films, and that is Home Alone 1 and Home Alone 2. Lost in New York. I think these two films are hilarious. They are just a blast. They're a lot of fun. Basic storyline is kid gets left home alone, or in the case of the second film, he gets separated at the airport from his parents and ends up in a completely different city. He's kind of a little snot-nosed kid early on, but he always goes on the story arc where he understands how important his family is to him. His parents, of course, end up leaving him behind because of the hustle and bustle of the holidays, and they're trying to get everywhere. And I mean, is it realistic that it happens not only once but twice? Of course not. But it's a lot of fun. Macaulay Culkin is great as Kevin McAllister in the lead role. But honestly, the best part of the film, of both films, have got to be Harry and Marv.
Oops.
These two are scum. They are hilarious though, because they try to rob Kevin's house in the first one, and they're robbing the neighborhood, these houses where people have gone on vacation. And in the second one, they're trying to rob a toy store that has all this money for this children's orphanage. And of course, they run into Kevin both times. He sets all these traps for them. The house is basically one big death trap, or in the second one, it's his uncle's house or something like that, which is being renovated. And just the stuff that he puts these two through is absolutely hilarious. I love Home Alone 1 and 2. At the end of the day, though, both films have a lot of heart with it. You really feel something. They got some interesting characters. We already saw the clip with Tim Curry earlier.
Fantastic.
Second one. A lot of fun stuff. in these films. There's a lot of the same beats with both of them. The films are almost identical in a lot of ways, but I still find both of them equally as good. So those are my number ones. It's Home Alone 1 and 2. And
one's at a house and one's at a New York hotel.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it is. You also sent a loser video of me getting torched.
Yes.
Okay, like I remember that too.
Yeah.
They're great movies, folks. They really are. They've been household staples here for a long time.
And because of the types of movies they are, even though they are Christmas movies, because they're just so funny, you can watch them any time of the year. I mean,
I was saying this. We were watching this probably last weekend. John Hughes, that guy was unstoppable back in his heyday.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in terms of being a director, he could not do anything but hit a home run.
I think he actually if I'm thinking he produced it because I think Chris Columbus directed.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
But Hughes was the producer behind it.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, it was a partnership between the two of them, and it was perfect.
He's just so smart in everything that he does because I mean, John Hughes, 16 Candles. I mean,
yes.
I mean, but just
did
brilliant.
John Hughes do Uncle Buck also?
Yes, he sure did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Uncle Buck is also fantastic.
Yeah.
Shout out to John Candy. But yeah,
who's in Home Alone 1?
Yes, he is.
The Polka King.
The Polka King. That's right. Yes.
Polka.
Nah, it's a great movie. It's a great movie. No one can deny it. And dear God, do you remember like the rage that got back when it was released? It was huge.
Yeah.
Everybody was going to see that.
Yeah, it was great.
It was fantastic, and Home Alone 2 as well. Both of them great. No complaints.
Yeah, they're hilarious movies. So
yeah, they are. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's the end of another show. It was a good show, good conversation.
It felt too short. I mean, Josh isn't here. What else do you want to talk about?
But yeah, where can we find you at on social media, Derek?
Well, after talking about all these movies, and these movies have aged me, just in terms of where I'm at. So I'm going to hope that the cookies don't give me diabetes and the milk doesn't give me lactose intolerance as an old person. So find me over on LinkedIn and Facebook if you would, please.
All right. And you can find me over on my YouTube channel, Bob Loves Movies. The channel's name is Was It Good? Also, you can find me over on X and Criticless. And I've been doing another stream. Still not sure if I'm going to do it full-time yet or not, but secured a couple episodes on that, and I'll talk more about that if I do end up making that full-time. So, all right. Great show tonight. We do hope that everybody has a very Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays, whatever it is that you celebrate. We hope that you enjoy that time with your family. Thank you for joining us. Once again, thank you if you watched the Superman trailer reaction. We really appreciate all the views that we got on that and all the comments. We love hearing from you, so please comment on this one as well. Let us know what your favorite Christmas movies are. And great show tonight, Derek. It's good talking to you, man.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Appreciate
your holidays.
Yeah, you as well. Thanks, everybody.
All right. You have a good night.
You too.